everyone. My name is Kate Sojda. I'm a simplicity consultant, and I'm here today to talk about digital storytelling and give you a little paid media 101. How many of you have purchased something from an ad you've seen on a website, Instagram, TikTok? Anyone buy a vacuum attachment at midnight early in the pandemic while scrolling mindlessly? Just me? Okay. At this point, I've ordered so much stuff, even I don't know what's happening anymore. If UPS shows up tomorrow with a llama, it is what it is. My background and how I came into paid media and my journey to consulting is a little bit non-traditional. I did not have any paid media experience prior to my current role. And I have just found a way to apply all of my foundational experience in creative, in project management, and just general team leadership skills to build out our current creative paid media program. When I was interviewing for my role, I had a conversation with the client at the time, and I solved a problem, and we had a great conversation, but I solved a problem for her and a need that she had. I identified that during the interview process, and we talked about that and how I could apply my skills to help solve that problem for her. I didn't need the direct channel experience, but I could apply what I do know and all of those skills that I have had over my career to what she needed, and just kind of helped establish that rigor and those processes for her. And really what it ended up boiling down to was I owned the program. I owned it from beginning to end. I started obviously bringing her in for input early on and at key points, but as we gained trust in each other, I freed her up to focus on other strategic initiatives. And that's been one of the biggest successes for me in my role in really being able to own the creative program for our paid media channel. My philosophy is similar to how I landed my role. Every week during my one-on-one, we talk about priorities for the week. I ask my client about what's top of mind, what are their priorities, what are their pain points. I talk about mine as well. And we talk through these things, and that really helps me check in and understand what we need to accomplish that week and help focus where I need to spend my time. Another big thing that I do when working with my clients is every now and then we'll have a conversation around setting priorities around the now. So what is the priority for the next month? What are the priorities for the near? What are those priorities for the next 2 to 6 months? And what are the future priorities? Looking past that 6 months. This is really difficult to look 6+ months out, but I think looking at the future is really important, and it always grounds you in where you're headed. And so talking to your client about how much time should you be spending on the now, the near, and the future will really help set you up for success. And not always, it's so easy to get bogged down in the day-to-day, be reactive and only be focused on the now, but really taking a step back and focusing on both those near and future priorities as well will help get you become much more successful in the long term. And then just consistently check in with them, realign on all of that. And for me, I just live and breathe the brand. I do it every day. I really embody what we're trying to sell. I really look at what it is that we're trying to do and accomplish, and then just make sure that I'm living and breathing that every day. And I think that that's really important in any role, especially in marketing. Paid Media 101. This is where we're going to get down to it. When I started my journey in paid media, I did not know anything. And what you're going to learn today is probably more than what I even knew when I started. So you're already going to have a leg up. I think it's really key to focus on what you can contribute, and then you can always learn more. You can always learn an industry. You can always learn a channel. What are the skills that you bring to the table and focus on that? And so with that, I always look at paid media and marketing in general is this three-legged stool. You've got earned, That's public relations, PR. That's getting someone else to talk about you or your product. Owned, those are the channels that you own. And this is a huge leg of the stool. And so I'm going to kind of gloss over this, but these are everything from email and your website and social channels, store, in-product packaging. I mean, all of these things are your own channels. You control it. You control 100% of that message. And there's lots more that I haven't even mentioned here. And then there's paid. Paid is exactly what it sounds like. You pay to play. You're paying for someone to see your ad on their channels. And so this is the part that we're going to talk about today. But I have experience in those other three areas of marketing. And so I was really excited to gain a lot more knowledge in this paid space. Everyone that is in marketing has seen some version of the marketing funnel. Now, this is one version. I'm not trying to do an MBA class here on marketing, but this is where, when we think about paid media, we think about the different level of the funnel that you are trying to drive. So paid media can play a role in every stage of the funnel, but there's different tactics for whether you're trying to drive awareness or if you're just trying to get someone to purchase your product. So there's a lot of different channels. I'm going to talk through some of those today here. For what I manage, we primarily focus on what we call a performance campaign. So it is more of that purchase driven channels. We do have other campaigns that are mid-funnel and upper funnel around that consideration. And so some of the examples here that you're seeing are some of the stuff that I've worked on. And these are some of the many channels. So some of the things I'm going to talk about today. So display ads. These are banners you see when reading the BuzzFeed article that you're scrolling at midnight. You're reading the news, you're shopping, wherever you're at on the web, I can guarantee that there's display ads on those pages. And they come in many different sizes, shapes, and forms. Some of them are interactive, some of them are video, some of them are static, but that is what a display ad is, and that's a big part of paid media. Social media. So we talked about that social can be owned. It can also be paid. So these are ads that you're going to see in your feed. So here's a couple examples on Facebook. And these are those ads that got you to buy that vacuum attachment at midnight, or just me. But these will show up across all the different channels. This is just one channel that we focus on for Facebook and Instagram. But you can go on Twitter and TikTok and Snapchat and Pinterest and all of LinkedIn. This is where you see in the reels in your feed. There's also video, but this is that social media paid advertising. Search. So SEM is search engine marketing. And so when you search on Bing or Google, the first few results that pop up are usually ads. And there's a lot of different types of ads. I'm going to simplify this quite a bit, but there's a lot of different types of SEM ads that you can do for your products and brand. And then, so the first couple ads are, or the first couple search results are ads, and then the organic results are based on SEO. So that's your search engine optimization, and that's just organic. SEM is primarily harvesting demand. That's what we use it for. And so you're utilizing, people are typing in your product or your brand. You want to make sure that they go to your site. You want to make sure that they're buying your product from you. Maybe they saw one of your display ads or your social media ads, and now they're searching for it, right? So coming back to it, we've all seen that ad that maybe we didn't click on, or maybe we didn't buy it at the time, and now we can't get it out of our head. And so we come back and we search for it. And so it's really important to have SEM as well. There's also non-branded keywords. So, you might search for something like vacuum attachment, and you don't know that you specifically wanted, you don't know which one it was. But those non-branded keywords are further up that marketing funnel that we talked about earlier, and that can help drive awareness and interest in your product when they may not know or remember your brand name. There's other channels here that I haven't shown examples for that we manage, affiliate channels, sites like Rakuten, Honey, Capital One Shopping, where you pay an affiliate for each visitor or customer, and they do their own marketing and send them to your site to purchase your product. Oftentimes these can be offer-based sites too. There's a lot of video, of course. I'd be remiss in not speaking about video, YouTube, Hulu, Amazon. These are ads you have to watch before, after, in the middle of other video content that you're watching. And these are typically upper funnel tactics again, because it's less click-based, right? You're watching it, you're aware you might be driving interest in a product, but you're less likely to click or to go in and just literally type in a URL right then and there. So those are typically used for more upper funnel tactics. There's also audio. How many of you have been listening to podcasts on your walks? I know I do. Spotify as well. And so again, these are used for those more upper funnel tactics as well, for awareness and interest driving. And there's a large part of paid media that is outside of what I do. There's a whole team that is working on audience targeting. That's really important to make sure that you are thinking about your audience and really understanding them, really knowing how they want to consume media. What are they interested in? What are things, if they might be interested in your product, they're also interested in this. How do you do those kind of comparisons to try and find your audience? So it's really important to understand them, to really, we partner with research here to get a lot of audience insights. And then we provide that to our media teams to help build those audience pools to send all of these paid ads to. But that's really critical in success. As we kind of look at this, we do a lot of things in our audiences. We do a lot of test and learn. We look at, what are the hooks for driving that new acquisition? We're focused on driving subscribers of Microsoft 365, and how do we message that? And, we test a lot of different headlines, creative, all of that kind of stuff. And that further helps us understand our audience and knows then what will drive them. And then we provide that feedback back to the Modern Life organization at Microsoft to help inform other channels, whether those are other owned channels or other owned channels that can help utilize those tactics for themselves as well. Measurement. Measurement is key to success. As we all know, you're not just doing this for the fun of it. There's a business goal, right? So thinking about those business objectives and thinking about, how are we going to measure success at each phase of the funnel? So awareness, you want to look at those quantitative research primarily. There's a lot of different ways to measure awareness, but looking at kind of that pre and post campaign, how many more people are aware of your product or your brand following your campaign. So you can do a lot of research studies there to kind of help measure that, to measure your campaign goals there. Interest, we talk about moving hearts and minds. So thinking about, how have you increased someone's interest in your product? Are they now considering it? Do they comprehend or they understand what your product is all about? Again, we do, some brand studies around, kind of exposed or unexposed to the campaign. And so we can measure, does this move those hearts and minds? And purchase. This is where I spend the majority of my time. And we look at those new subscribers. We look at things like LTV CAC, which stands for lifetime value to customer acquisition costs. And so it's a ratio that we use to measure how much are we putting into our paid media? How much are we spending versus how much are we giving back to the business? How much business, how many new subscribers are we driving? And what does that look like from a revenue perspective? And finance has a lot of different modeling for doing that. And that's how we measure our success and what we focus on. And I think that that's really critical in any project or campaign that you're working on, is to have a really strong KPI that you can focus on and make sure that you are always coming back to that KPI every time that you are looking to add something new to your campaign, looking to explore, or every time we always are getting pinged from other stakeholders that want to be a part of it. And if it drives to our bottom line, to our KPI, then we'll consider it. If it doesn't, then we are able to say no to that because of that. So it's very easy for us as consultants to always want to say yes, but it's just as important to be able to say no. And so having that measurement and that success metric tied to what your campaign is that you're driving is really critical in being able to keep your campaign focused and then being successful in the end. I have had a remarkable journey to paid media. And for me, I continue to learn and grow every day in my role. And that fulfills me. I love it. I've been in my role for 3 years, and I've evolved that role significantly over time as I've grown, as the program has grown. And I just want to kind of remind everyone that you can learn any channel, you can learn any industry or audience. And as a consultant, I think that that's what's really fun about being a consultant is you have the foundational experience needed to apply your skills, and you can go learn something new. So if you are looking for your next consulting role, don't be afraid to explore something. Go check out paid media, go check out a channel that you haven't done before, because you never know what you're going to learn or be able to apply from a previous role to the new role. And that's the beauty of being a consultant, as we continue to learn and grow every day. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.